Prison Break. Author, Agamora. Crossdress Small World, Final Part, Termination. Then, through Leon's explanation, I understood why Daniel's Peace Food Company grew up so quickly. Because behind it is an extremely powerful drug trafficking group. They are enough to make the entire special police team have a headache for a long time. The company is just a cover to carry out illegal transactions. Indeed, the company still trades in prepackaged food products. But mixed with that, they pack drugs, disguise themselves as packaged foods, and blatantly supply a large quantity to customers. They absolutely didn't think that their behavior would be revealed because it was too hard to believe. They choose the most dangerous place, which is a busy city like a city, to commit crimes. But that was what helped them get past the eyes of the police. I believe it was also by chance that Leon was lucky enough to link the old case and my case. By the time the police came to arrest them at once, all employees working in the company were arrested. However, Daniel and the gangs were not present. After a few days under Leon's dedicated care, my wound condition has also improved a lot. However, every time he helps me shower, change clothes, my face is red as jackfruit. I don't know why, but I'm getting more and more afraid to face him. One day, Leon came to me and asked, "There is some preliminary information about the layer of drug trafficking group. Do you want to put an end to it all with Daniel yourself?" Although I was very shy to face Leon, but after listening to him, I let go of my shyness and focused on big things. I nodded without hesitation. Leon and I moved to the city where I lived before. I was surprised to ask Leon, "How did you find the lair of the drug trafficking group? Are they in the city where I lived before?" Leon replied, "It's just speculation, but I hope my intuition will be right." This time, Leon did not summon more police to accompany him. He said he did it to avoid wake a sleeping dog. So, it's just him and I involved in this case. Leon asked me to use my skills to help me and him disguise. Of course, I have never been unconfident about this. I asked him, "How would you like us to dress up?" He thought for a moment and then said, "Let's disguise ourselves as a couple. You looks like a woman. Beside, you have a certain amount of experience in dressing up as a woman, so the role would be perfect for you. Going with a girl without suspicion, obviously her boyfriend. So, dressing up as a couple would be the best option." I know Leon has considered quite thoroughly before deciding. But this idea of his once again made me blush. Who wants to be his lover? But there's no other way, I can't deny, it's the most logical way. We stopped the car, visited a fashion store in the area. Leon produced a police identity document to ask the store staff to keep it a secret, as well as to work closely with us. Thanks to that, we were allowed to use a separate room in the store to prepare. First of all, I used my superior makeup skills to completely change our faces. I chose for him a black shirt and a pair of blue jeans. Just to be sure, I also told him to put on a pair of sunglasses. Finally, I chose for him a pair of dark brown Western shoes. Looking at his tall body in the outfit I chose, I felt that he was quite handsome. Immediately, I shook my head to dispel that thought. After I disguised him, I told him to turn his face away, not allowed to peek at me changing clothes. He walked to a corner of the room and faced the wall. After making sure he wasn't looking at me, I proceeded to change my clothes. I haven't worn women's clothes these past few days because there's no need to disguise anymore. Not to mention, my wound needs to be dressed as simply as possible. I've been wearing women's clothing for a few years, so the past few days have been a bit unfamiliar to me. Even though I have to wear women's clothes today, I feel excited, not reluctant. I chose a simple black lingerie set to wear. Because the local store does not pay too much attention to the design and style, most of the clothes sold in the store are in the simplest form, easy to wear. Nevertheless, as a habit, I often look at my perfect body in lingerie set through the mirror. When I looked in the mirror, I saw Leon's image behind me reflected in the mirror. I blushed involuntarily. It was obvious that he was peeking at me, with an amused smile on his lips. I turned my head and said, "You pervert. I told you not to peek." Leon shrugged and replied, "Can't blame me. Beauty change clothes, why not look? My cheeks are even redder. It's too embarrassing to stay with this guy." I just glared at him and continued to put on my clothes. I chose a white round neck long sleeve blouse and a pair of simple women's jeans that didn't hide my individuality. I did not choose a black sunglasses to cover my face like Leon. Instead, I used a wide-brimmed black hat. Once the disguise was complete, we walked out to pay. The employees in the store were very surprised when entering were two men, but when they came out, it was a man and a woman. Up to now, I still do not know where the location that Leon mentioned is. Therefore, I was very surprised when he drove me to a lock shop. I asked Leon, "Why do you think the drug trafficking group gather in a small local lock shop?" "This is not possible," Leon said, "sometimes the most trivial things can happen." "I'm you also just speculating. You mentioned before stealing with you, Daniel worked at a lock shop. There is only one lock shop in the locality. The age when people are most likely to fall into the trap of drugs is probably teenagers. So I don't rule out the possibility that, before working with you, Daniel was already involved with drug trafficking group." We go inside the lock shop. The person who received us was a very thin-looking guy who asked with a very unfriendly attitude, "Buy what?" Leon replied, "Sell me a good quality lock for a bit." He continued to ask, "How good? What do you want to use it to lock?" Leon replied, "Good enough to lock all the drug dealers in one place." After hearing Leon's sentence, the face of the locksmith suddenly panicked. He was about to run away when Leon quickly threw him to the floor and locked his hands with the handcuffs. Leon did not forget to cover his mouth to prevent him from telling his accomplices. Leon put him in a corner and said, "I don't need any more, I think the handcuffs are probably locked well enough." Despite the locksmith's best efforts, he couldn't get out or open his mouth to say a word. Leon turned to me and said, "It seems my guess is correct. I don't know what to say anymore. From the first days in prison, I felt that Leon was a very sublime person." We quietly found the entrance to a cellar in the shop. Inside the cellar, Daniel is being beaten by a guy, constantly cursing, "Idiot. Because of you, the business I built so long has almost completely collapsed. If the old police bastards didn't know our gang, I wouldn't be crazy about using a brat like you." Daniel said, "I'm sorry. I didn't expect that the master of disguise I was about to invite into our gang would be the key to ruining our plan." Only later did I learn that Daniel intended to lure me into joining the drug trafficking group to replace the old master of disguise who died of unknown causes. He wanted a replacement ace like the way he tricked Leon in the past. He angrily replied, "Both you and that traitor policeman are equally useless. If you two do business like this, you're killing me." After beating Daniel, he sat down on a chair and muttered, "I have underestimated you, Leon. You're smarter than I thought. I'd rather kill you that year than kill those 3 stupid policemen." At this time, Leon and I suddenly appeared at the door. Leon held a Colt 1911 gun at the entire gang and said, "Thanks for your compliment, ex-struggler. Or should I call you Henry Baker? I'm not that smart either. At that time, if I were smarter, my 3 colleagues wouldn't have died. But it's over now, I declare, you've all been arrested." The leader was a little surprised, but then burst into laughter. Ha ha, well done. If you caught me, I'm not too condescending. You're the only cop I recognize. Daniel are lying on the floor, now as if realizing something, he raised his face and said, "It turns out, Henry is your name. So all this time, you told me to take this name to bear the blame for you?" Henry turned to look at Daniel with mocking eyes. "What more do you expect, useless guy?" Daniel angry, he lay there, a tear fell from the corner of his eye. Henry was very decisive. "Okay. Well then, let's go." After saying that, he went first, the criminals followed. But when he passed me, Henry quickly grabbed my neck and pulled out a gun from his pocket and pointed it at my head. He laughed and then loudly said, "You are very smart, Leon. But you are forever lacking in the ability to protect the person next to you. We definitely won't be able to escape today, but before we get in jail, maybe I should see this pretty girl off for a while." Leon angrily shouted, "You! Don't mess around." Henry burst out laughing, his laughter echoed throughout the cellar. He was very satisfied when he saw the pained eyes from Leon. I also blame myself, maybe today I will be the one to ruin Leon's plan. Leon fell into a dilemma. After a moment of hesitation, Leon sighed and let go of the gun. Leon said, "I can't let any of my acquaintance die in front of me anymore. Not to mention, that's the most important person to me right now." I was surprised to hear Leon's last words. I felt an emotion that is hard to describe in words. Come to think of it, since my parents passed away until now, Leon was the one who treated me most sincerely. This time, Henry laughed again. He was satisfied with Leon's resigned expression. But when he was laughing loudly, his laughter suddenly stopped. A stream of red blood flowed from Henry's chest. Everyone turned their attention to Henry's back. Not knowing when, Daniel appeared from behind Henry with a knife in hand. "You're an asshole." Those were Henry's last words before he collapsed on the floor. Daniel smiled and said to me, "Perhaps my best skill is stabbing in the back, right?" "Sorry, Tade. For my own sake, I sold my most sincere friend. This is probably the last thing I can do for you. Try to follow your dreams. This time, I sincerely support you." After that, Daniel was the second person to fall to the floor. About half an hour later, a large police force arrived and put an end to the drug trafficking group that had been operating outside the law for a long time. Henry died from excessive blood loss at the scene. All remaining members of the gang are subject to great penalties from the law. Daniel also breathed his last on the hospital bed. Daniel died of exhaustion after Henry's brutal beatings. Although I got my revenge, but deep inside I didn't want things to go this way. Leon turned to me and said, "It's all over." I nodded, "Yes, it's all over. What about my prison sentence with our fellow prisoners?" Leon smiled and replied, "Your crime is not that serious. After 5 years in prison, your term has already expired. The rest of fellow prisoners are all disguised policemen. Sorry for hiding it from you." I also dimly guessed. I said, "I see. I am finally free to pursue my passion for painting. There's no need to take on a fake identity anymore. It's time to return the identification documents to Lena." Even though you are still an obnoxious person who likes to hide and take advantage of me, I sincerely thank you for everything. Having said that, I slowly walked away. I feel a little lost in my heart. Is it the feeling of liberation after a series of days of hardship, or is it simply because I am too used to this new life and it is too difficult to start over again? I'm not sure of that either. At this time, I heard Leon's voice from afar. "Actually, there is still something I hide from you. That is my true love for you. Thank you for appearing in my life, giving me hope and direction. I love you." Next, I felt Leon's arms hugging me from behind. I stood still for a moment. Then, I turned to face Leon. I wrapped my arms around Leon, giving him the most intense kiss on his lips. After a while, I said, "I can't lie anymore. I love you too. I'm just afraid that a useless person like me doesn't deserve to be with you." Leon smiled and said, "The identification documents of the girl named Lana I have already helped you to return. I also prepared new identification documents for you. With just one signature from you, you will start a new life with the name Lana." I pretended to be angry and said, "You are evil. Always sneaking to decide on your own." Leon suddenly carried me in his arms, my petite figure in his muscular arms. Leon said, "Then let me decide for the last time. I decided, I will be your husband, the one who will accompany you for the rest of your life." The end. Today's story would like to stop here. Thank you for watching. Please like and share for people with similar interests to motivate me to develop my channel. Goodbye and see you in another story.